Welcome to Hardcover Feedback. I'm Tracey Hill.
I'm Brandi Smits.
And our book today is Looking for Alaska by John Green. Miles is fascinated by famous last words. He leaves his boring life in Florida to attend a boarding school in Georgia to seek what the dying poet Francois Rabelais called the Great Perhaps. Much awaits Miles at Culver Creek, including Alaska Young. Clever, funny, screwed up, and dead sexy, Alaska will pull Miles into her labyrinth and catapult him into the Great Perhaps.
She told me that I reminded her of the Colonel when he came to Culver Creek. They were freshmen together, she said, both scholarship kids with, as she put it, a shared interest in booze and mischief. The phrase booze and mischief left me wondering I'd stumbled into what my mother referred to as the wrong crowd. But for the wrong crowd, they seemed awfully smart. As she lit a new cigarette off the butt of her previous one, she told me that the Colonel was smart but hadn't done much living when he got to the creek. I got rid of that problem quickly, she smiled. By November, I'd gotten him his first girlfriend, a perfectly nice, non-weekday warrior named Janice. He dumped her after a month because she was too rich for his poverty-soaked blood or whatever. We pulled our first prank that year. We filled classroom 4 with a thin layer of marbles. We've progressed some since then, of course, she laughed. So Chip became the Colonel, a military-style planner of their pranks, and Alaska was ever Alaska, the larger-than-life creative force behind them. Okay. First of all, should note that Looking for Alaska is an award-winning book. It won the Printz Award, which is the best book with literary merit for teens that was published that year. So that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Secondly, this book is awesome. This is definitely not a plot-driven book. There's plot to it, but more, I would say, comes out of the amazing characters that Green has created. Mm-hmm. Every one of them with their own little quirks. I don't know if you want to have a preference, because I can talk all day about this book.
Yeah, this is, again, my first time around with John Green. So, and I was impressed, simply because, as you say, it is very character-driven, and the action comes out of what the characters would do, mm-hmm. which to me is like a high level of plotting, when you can merge both of those things together and just make it seem so organic and so naturally flowing that it's believable. You know, he writes with a lot of credibility, and that's tricky because he's not this young. But yet he manages to find the voices of people who are so much younger than he is.
And that's one of the things that I really like about John Green, and it has been stated by reviewers and critics that they don't like him because he writes his teen characters as such intelligent and well-spoken people that some people believe that he's writing over the heads of teenagers and not classifying them correctly. But I think that from the teenagers that I've dealt with, he is right on the money. Mm-hmm. And he's writing where they all want to be. Some of them are there, some of them are striving to get there. And so he doesn't write below them. He writes like so they can reach for what he's getting at, and it makes them want to read more.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess that the people who complain about the way he portrays teenagers are people who are really content to view teenagers in stereotypical ways, and who are content to think that teenagers are these much simpler creatures than grown-ups are, than a full-blown adult. Well, they're not fully formed yet, so they're not quite that interesting or that intricate, and John Green presents them as being very interesting and very intricate, and in a lot of ways more interesting than adults who may have settled into being in a certain mode because it was the easiest thing to do.
Exactly. So. Each of the main characters, there are, I would say, five main characters that we view specifically. Obviously, Miles, or as they call him, Pudge, ironically, because he is like the weight of half a cheese sandwich. Pudge, he has this ongoing collection of famous people's last words. The Colonel, whose real name is Chip, he has memorized every country and capital in alphabetical order. Alaska, who is just a bottle of personality, she also collects books from garage sales, and her entire room is lined with old paperback copies of books. Takumi is like the only Asian in the entire school and has decided that he is going to be a hardcore rapper, so he spends most of his time rapping at everybody. And then finally, there's Lara, who is a foreign exchange student, but not really. She's going to school there, so she's not really an exchange student. She's from another country, and she's moved here with her father, so she's getting used to what's going on in this country. And each one of them is so intricately connected. It's really hard to tell the plot. It's kind of like when we were talking about the name of the star. You can't tell the plot because it gives away so much of what's going on. You have to just let it unfold as it goes. Otherwise, if I tell you about everything,
you're spoiled,
it's like,
you're ruined. It's not going to be as fun.
Point, because you don't know what the end is going to be until you get there. And then when you get there, it's like you got slapped with a fish or something. It's so out of the world, crazy that you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, and well, going back to the characters for a second, I think there are no disposables in here.
No.
That's what really surprised me about this was that even these kids' enemies, you know, we have this group of kids that we come to like, and that they're presented in ways that we're supposed to like them, but even their enemies are not like two-dimensional bad guys, and they have personalities as well, and the adults have personalities.
Like the eagle, the guy, the head of the school, who's always out trying to find them.
Pudge's parents, who we don't even really see, but they have personalities, and even just random incidental characters, like the one shop owner later on in the story. It's like, wow, you know, even just a quick snapshot, John Green has given us these people like, here you go, you've got a full impression of them. And you know, just from the way that he has presented them, that there's more to these folks than what he's given us even. They're just that deeply structured. So.
Okay, well, my opinions are pretty well expressed about this. I feel like I haven't said enough because there's so much to say, but I'm so afraid to keep talking because I'm so afraid of giving so much away. So
okay, we could say, like, how happy is the book?
The book is not meant to be a happy book,
but it's funny.
But it's
sometimes.
funny. It's a juxtaposition of humor and drama at the same time,
like
which
lot
he's
of humor
a master at. As other books, he does that too.
And
he's really great at taking something that could be very dramatic and depressing and put this humorous spin on it that makes you laugh out loud while you're like, no, I'm not supposed to be laughing now. I don't know what I'm doing. So all in all, I give this book 4 stars, all stars, 4. That's my opinion.
That's a lot of book love.
It is a lot of book love.
Mine's pretty darn close because I was reading, and I can't go too far into it, but I was doing this, darn you, John Green. And so, yeah, and because of that, because I was completely not expecting to be so drawn into this story, I give it 3.5. This has been Hardcover Feedback. Our book today is Looking for Alaska by John Green. I'm Tracey Hill.
And I'm Brandi Smits. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.